This is the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles.
He's Greg, I'm Nick. It's the Greg Bedard Patriots Podcast with Nick Cattles. This episode brought to you by our friends at GameTime. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, Greg, we were going to start with some Patriots news about their front office. We will get to that. But then some NFL news broke just before we started to record this podcast. It's from the NFL Network's Mike Garafolo. He reports that Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. I found it interesting that within his tweet, Greg, Mike also mentioned that San Francisco is unwilling to negotiate. So we know where this story is coming from. And we know that Aiyuk is not happy. And I would just have to imagine it's the Justin Jefferson contract situation. So just your initial thoughts on Aiyuk officially requesting a trade.
My initial reaction is good for him. He really has no rights here. I understand his sentiment. He's trying to play hardball. He's trying to get the 49ers to the negotiating table. This is not the first time that we have seen the 49ers pushed in negotiations. I think that Aiyuk and his representatives have certainly learned from the past. Debo went through this. Joey Bosa went through this. We've seen it in the past, even with the Patriots, where we talked about guys getting their money. Like they had to basically put one foot out the door before Belichick, like the Devin McCourties, the Vince Wilforks, like those guys that, you understand the lay of the land on what you have to do to get things done. As specific to Brandon Aiyuk, from what I understand from, over the last few months talking to people around the 49ers, they have zero intention of trading him. That he is the centerpiece of their offense. We've talked about this before. If they're going to trade anybody, it is going to be Deebo Samuel, because I think they're a little bit sick of his unavailability. He's in, he's out. Aiyuk in his position on the outside of the 49ers offense is a little bit more important than Deebo. Not to say that Deebo's not a very good talent, an exceptional talent, but I just think, like, in relation to the Patriots, if people are now thinking that Brandon Aiyuk is available and that they can trade for him, I'm not going to totally rule it out. I mean, if the Patriots want to offer the moon, and that includes compensation and a new contract, it's not just one or the other, it's both at this point, then I think it's a little bit of a pipe dream. I think the bigger reality, and if you're the Patriots, you're happy about this, is if the 49ers continue to play hardball and Aiyuk does not get his contract, and we'll see what ends up happening, then he is almost definitely not going to re-sign with the 49ers, and he is available in free agency next year when possibly you have Drake May, or hope not possibly, probably have Drake May ready to go. The offense has a year under its belt with Alex Van Pelt, and now you can bring in the centerpiece number one wide receiver when you're ready to go.
A few things. Why would they trade Aiyuk? I tend to agree with you, Greg. I find it very unlikely. I was out in Sacramento. I posted, whoa, hashtag Patriots, because I do think the Patriots, they want a wide receiver one. They had discussions with San Francisco about Aiyuk, so I don't think it's crazy to believe that Elliot Wolf's making a phone call. But from San Francisco's side, I was out in Sacramento when they went through the Deebo Samuel situation, and it got very, sticky with Deebo, and they weren't getting along, and he was out there publicly pushing for more money, et cetera, et cetera. He finally got his deal, but obviously no trade was made. The only thing I would say is if it becomes too big of a distraction, like how hard is Aiyuk willing to push here? Is he willing to go public? Is he, will this guy go on ESPN next week and start talking about San Francisco? Like how far is he willing to go? And if he wants to be a massive distraction, if you're the 49ers, you were just in the Super Bowl last year. So it's a delicate balance of you were there because his talent helped you get there, but do you want a malcontent in that locker room that can upset the culture a little bit and cause issues for somebody like Brock Purdy? I mean, if Aiyuk goes out there and he just doesn't play hard in the first couple of weeks of the season, he's screwing the whole team over. So you have to know his intent here and how far is he willing to push it. The other thing I would say is, the compensation for Aiyuk, very difficult for the Patriots, Greg, right? Because San Francisco is going to want a first-round pick. If you're New England, now you got to try to figure out, okay, if we traded for Aiyuk, how much better does he really make us this season? Mm-hmm. And where does that first-round pick in 2025 end up? Because I don't think many people would want to deal a top, say, 7 pick for Brandon Aiyuk. So it's also the very difficult math that you have to do. All right, we trade that pick. Does he make us an 8-win team, 9-win team, 10-win team? Does he get us closer to the playoffs? Does he drop our first-round pick from top, 7 to maybe middle of the first round? If it's middle of the first round, you're more likely to entertain that.
Yeah, I am definitely against. One of the last things I want to do is trade the Patriots first round pick for where they are and where that might be. Like, that's how you run into these dumbass teams, like just compounding their mistakes, like the Carolina Panthers in their deal up for Bryce Young, and that turns into a top 5 pick the next year. So not only are you giving up a first round pick that could be a top 10 pick, but you're then also paying through the nose for a wide receiver. I'd much rather just get through this year and just pay the contract, because they're going to have plenty of cap space. They spent a lot of cash this year, but their cap space is down. And so that's what I'm more on board with. I did just want to mention, make sure we mention at the top, our good friends over at GameTime. Take the guesswork out of buying baseball or even football tickets with the season rapidly approaching. With GameTime, download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Free agency is also interesting. You brought this up. A couple more points on the Aiyuk thing. Of course, T. Higgins. He's not going to be a Bengal next year either. So if there's a scenario here where you have both T. Higgins and Brandon Aiyuk in a very unusual situation, because nowadays wide receiver ones don't usually walk into free agency. If you're the Patriots, this might set up for you in 2025 to have 2 swings. You might be able to take a swing at T and then take a swing at Aiyuk, or vice versa, where you take a swing at Aiyuk and Aiyuk says no, and you quickly pivot to T and you pay T, and you walk out with at least somebody who you would, regard in this wide receiver room specifically as a true number 1 with T. Higgins. I think he's more 1B, 2A. Aiyuk, no doubt, is a 1A. Last question I have for you about this. Could this possibly make Deebo Samuel more tradable? Are the 49ers going to be a little bit more desperate to get rid of Deebo to create some more space there to get Aiyuk to shut up and get him into camp?
Yeah, I do. I would just, if I'm the Patriots and where they are in their system and sort of the guys that they have, I'm less inclined to go for Deebo. I'm looking for, a dynamic boundary weapon. They don't really have that. They have plenty of guys, not quite Deebo. Nobody's really Deebo because he's really half running back, half wide receiver. Patriots don't really have that, but they have, Jalen Polk can play inside, Kendrick Bourne, Pop Douglas. To me, they're all right there. You really want the Brandon Aiyuk, the T. Higgins of the world. That's something that you don't have. That's hard to get, especially if the Patriots get to a point next year in the draft with their first-round pick, say it's top 10, and they go for a left tackle. And, you go for the left tackle, but sign the boundary wide receiver and free agency, and now the Patriots are cooking with gas a little bit.
Let's stick with wide receiver. We found out this morning some breaking news for the Patriots wide receiver room. Adam Schefter reported this morning that charges have been dropped against Keion Booty. The underage gambling and the computer fraud charges have been dropped by the state of Louisiana. No explanation as to why these charges were dropped. The story just says that they were dropped. So kind of interested in as to why they were dropped. But here we are, Greg. your reaction to Booty getting these charges dropped.
So, yeah, we don't know really the reasoning. As I said sort of last week when I broke down my offensive 53, going through it, Keion Booty's name was there, and I'm like, what the heck's going on with this court case? And so I reached out to Louisiana State Police, I want to say it's East Baton Rouge District Court, to find out what's going on, doing the online searches too. But, basically everybody that I talked to said nothing had been done since his January arraignment, which was odd to me. So that this is the ultimate result. And I put Booty on my 53-man roster because of the status of the case, and that the NFL doesn't really do anything until something's adjudicated. And by the way, now that the charges are dropped, that doesn't necessarily mean that he's out of the woods with the NFL. Now, a lot of these allegations happened when he was an undergrad or underage at LSU. Some of it happened with the Patriots, and we know the NFL has been a little bit horny to persecute some of these guys with gambling. And so now that at least there's some sort of end, that the charges were dropped, if the NFL was going to step in and say suspend him for a game or two, it would happen now, probably, in the run up to at some point in the run up to the season.
Yeah, a few things just to make sure we put a finer point on the NFL side of this. As you said, Greg, they can still punish Aiyuk. They can still punish Booty. No matter what happens with these charges, the charges being dropped, they could still go after him. There's a few things that they have to answer as far as the gambling policy. We know that according to Mike Reese's story and according to some documents, Booty was still gambling into like the first week of May. So he was still gambling after the NFL draft in 2023 when he was drafted by the Patriots. So he was still actively gambling as an NFL player. The question is, did he gamble on the NFL in any way? We know that he gambled on LSU games. We know that he gambled on other college football games. Did he, let's say, bet an NFL future? Did he put a bet in May for an NFL future bet or something like that? We don't know that. That has not been reported. The other part of this is, even if he was betting on other sports, he is not allowed to do that in an NFL facility / venue. Mm-hmm. So the other question is, when he was betting that first week of May, did he do something dunce like put a bet in while he's hanging around the facility that first week or so? And if he did put a bet in at the facility or the venue, and I would guess that there's some wiggle room with the venue word, if he did put a bet in while he was on NFL territory, pretty much, let's just put it that way, or Patriots territory, then he's going to get in trouble for it. So there are some details that we still need to figure out, and I'm sure the NFL is going to investigate if they haven't already investigated, and the Patriots will go from there. But I think, like you, he's got a shot to be in the wide receiver room this year. He played well at minicamp. Mm-hmm. And, Kendrick Bourne's situation, if he ends up on the PUP, I think it's even more likely that Booty can find a spot on the team. If Bourne doesn't end up on the PUP, then it's how many receivers will the Patriots keep? Will they keep 5? Will they keep 6? What will they do at that position? If they keep 6, he's got a better shot. If they keep 5 and Bourne's playing, that's difficult math for him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that Booty, what we saw in the offseason, he's definitely in the mix, and now he's just got to be on the field consistently and produce this summer and continue, building off what he did last year, and I think he has a pretty good shot.
There was nothing better during the summer than experiencing a sunny afternoon at the ballpark, or maybe a nice summer evening, catching a ball game live, in person, not streaming, not on your phone, not on the radio, not on the TV. I remember driving down from Maine every summer. It was a big deal. We get tickets to see the Red Sox at Fenway Park. And I just remember seeing the green grass as you'd walk up through the tunnel. It was like heaven. And I want you to have the same feeling. So go download the GameTime app and go see a game. GameTime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, so it's really easy to use. You can get your tickets faster and easier. Plus, as you get closer to the first pitch, the prices on GameTime actually go down. They have killer last-minute deals. They have the lowest price guarantee, and you can check out the view from your seats. Now, it's really easy. You just go to your phone, you download the GameTime app, you scan it, and you can see there are great seats to the Sox and the Yankees, or if you want that down-home minor league feeling, you can go see the Woo Sox or your favorite minor league club that's close to you. I go to Worcester and Polo Park. It is a great place to take the family to see a game. Very economical, too. Plus, GameTime also has great deals on the New England Revolution and Patriot preseason games. You can get last-minute deals and save up to 60% off on sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. You can save even more when you choose the section and you let GameTime choose the seats. You always get the lowest price guarantee, or GameTime will credit 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app today, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
Let's move towards the front office. Greg, the Patriots finally announced. It's funny, I was wondering about this just the other day, if we would get some information about the front office, because it's been very, very quiet. Well, the Pats have announced front office titles. They've announced additions. Let's start with the biggest one. I don't know if you want to throw the other scouting information, the pro scout, the area scout, the scouting assistant. If you want to talk about those, we can talk about those later. But let's start with Patrick Stewart, named Director of Pro Personnel. He takes over Steve Cargile, who went down to Houston with buddy Nick Caserio. So I know you've stated that you're a fan of Patrick Stewart, Greg. You like him. You like his work. Seems like a pretty good guy, good football guy. But your thoughts on him taking the position of Director of Pro Personnel?
Yeah, I think that it was a really good move by Elliot Wolf. Patrick Stewart's one of these guys. He's been around. Not only did he come up with the Patriots, but he worked with the Eagles. He worked with the Panthers. He was pretty high up with the Panthers before they made all their changes, and then they came back and sort of helped out the front office the past couple of years, I think. But he. This is similar to Nick. I don't know if you heard my podcast last week when I was talking about Hard Knocks and watching the Giants and sort of their front office. I was underwhelmed with their front office, quite frankly. They seemed really young and inexperienced and didn't really know the lay of the land as far as market for Saquon Barkley and who was going to come, or trade partner. On a bunch of different levels, I was underwhelmed with the Giants. But I am equally, from what I know, and I know a lot of these guys, whether it's Elliot Wolf or Alonzo Highsmith or Pat Stewart or Matt Groh. But these guys have been through it. Pat Stewart, in his role as director of pro personnel, to me, it's perfect because he has deep ties throughout the league. He has seen a lot of these guys. He has researched a lot of these guys. To me, it just further gives Elliot Wolf, who has his own vast experience in the league. You put him together with Alonzo Highsmith as Wolf's right-hand man, Pat Stewart as his pro personnel guy. That's a pretty experienced, well-known, well-respected trio at the top of the Patriots. And if I'm a Patriots fan, I feel good about where the front office is going forward here.
Let's get to some other names. I know immediately when we bring up the front office and titles and additions and changes, everybody wants to know about Matt Groh. Is Matt Groh still there, Nick? What is Matt Groh doing? What's his title? Matt Groh's title, Greg, is officially Director of Player Personnel. So Matt Groh has survived the transition. He is still part of this front office, and that title, as I just told you, is Director of Player Personnel. Your thoughts? Yeah,
which I'm pretty sure is his same title from last year. Now he got leapfrogged by Elliot Wolf, but this is not a surprise after observing the team, whether it was at the Senior Bowl or the Combine or the offseason practices. Like, Matt Groh was very present. He's often engaged in conversations with other front office staff, including Elliott Wolf. It seems like Wolf views him as an asset. I don't think he would be here if he didn't. So, people love to take shots at Matt Groh. He's sort of another guy that can say, thanks, Bill, for, making them a target, along with, guys like, Bill O'Brien and Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. I think in this role, Matt is valued. He gets to do his thing. And, I assume he's more on the college side. That's what I've heard from talking to people behind the scenes, whether it's undrafted free agents or they're working the draft. I hear Matt Groh's name a lot. So it seems like Matt Groh and Cameron Williams, who's the director of college scouting, that those guys sort of work hand to hand. And then you have Alonzo Highsmith and Pat Stewart on the pro side, really giving the Patriots a lot of talent. No matter what you think of Matt Groh, he's well respected in that building.
Yeah, Alonzo has the senior personnel executive title, and we should always mention Matt Groh's not making the final call, folks. So, no matter how you feel about him, the Patriots feel about him, it's not like he's making any final decisions. He is doing the legwork. He's having conversations with everybody else in the room. But as Greg just mentioned, ultimately we know Elliott Wolf makes the call. He's going to lean on Highsmith and Patrick Stewart. And Patrick Stewart and Highsmith will get information from Cam Williams and Matt Groh. There's the pyramid, there's the structure, the totem pole, so to speak. And so it's not as if Matt Groh is going to make a decision. That's on Elliott Wolf and a little bit lesser Highsmith and Stewart. Groh's going to be there, and I'm sure he's going to have his favorites. He's going to have guys that he doesn't like, but it's all going to be up to Elliott Wolf at the end of the day. Another name, interestingly enough, Greg, is Troy Brown. He is not on the list of 29. Yes, I said 29 coaches and strength coaches.
Yeah, that I don't even know if that really means anything, Nick. We just know that he doesn't have a title. I would be surprised if Troy Brown's not still in the building. Like, if I recall correctly, and I'm just looking at is Slater's not on here. And we know that Slater has a role in the organization. I could see Slater and Troy Brown working hand to hand, maybe, in player development, that sort of thing, where they don't get listed. I would still be surprised if Troy Brown is not a part of things down there in some capacity. So ultimately, I guess we're going to have to see the first day of practice.
Couple of Brandon Aiyuk notes I just want to pass along as we continue to record the show. On Twitter, Adam Schefter, this is not necessarily breaking news, says that other teams have reached out, spoken to the 49ers. They've been told that the Niners have no intention of trading Aiyuk. Also, coming from Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, says a source on Ayuk's contract impasse, quote, Aiyuk wants to be traded or paid. San Francisco doesn't want to pay him or trade him, unquote. So Aiyuk saying pick a lane, and San Francisco's like, yeah, we don't have to, Brandon. So welcome to the NFL.
Get your shine box.
Yeah, we have all the power. So, oh, well. Oh, and by the way, if anybody cares about this, another note that I just retweeted, Ingrid Andress, who is now well known for the national anthem at last night's Home Run Derby, has officially come out with a statement and let everybody know that, yes, she was hammered last night. She was drunk, and she is checking herself into a facility today to get the help that she needs. She apologizes to everybody. So people were wondering, was that a version of the song that she was thinking? Was she being a little too musical and creative? Was she on something? Was something wrong? According to her, she was drunk. So probably not a good idea to get drunk right before the national anthem at a major sporting event. Other names, Patriots front office, just some scouts. Bob Cronenberg added as a pro scout. Casey, do you know how to pronounce this person's name? Is it Belangia?
I do not. Go for it, Nick.
All right, Casey Belangia, area scout, and A.J. Richardson. So just some more names there thrown in. But as we said, the big ones, Patrick Stewart gets a promotion. It's Elliott Wolf. Then you've got Stewart and Highsmith. And then you have below them, you've got Groh and Cam Williams. Pretty good structure there. All right, let's move on before we bid adieu to everybody and talk about Matthew Judon and Devon Godchow. I read your story. I think it was from today. If it wasn't, it was from last night. Sometimes I get confused because the retweets and all that. But I read your story on Judon and Godchow. I'm going to talk about it tonight on 98.5, so I'm looking forward to that. But let's start with Judon. First, just his tweet, Greg, because I know that you said what you said on the podcast last week. And by the way, I am not happy with Greg because Greg has this to say about Matthew Judon, and the podcast in Greg's face gets broadcast across all of New England constantly on every show. And so he waits until I'm not here. I'm on vacation with the wife in Newport to drop the intel. And then he gets all the pub, and his face is all over the place while my ugly mug is nowhere to be seen. So,
sorry.
I know you said what you said last week. Everybody by now knows what you said last week. But your reaction to the tweet from Judon over the weekend that came out on Saturday.
Like, I don't know. I didn't think much of it at the time. Like, hadn't I said a version of that before? I could have sworn I did. Maybe I didn't. I do think a lot of this, Nick, and it seems like it happens with me like every year. It's probably because I'm one of the only reporters who doesn't get a vacation and is working throughout the dead time. So it just seems like, every year it seems like I put something out there that because it's the dead time and, these stupid Twitter accounts and Instagram accounts, they need to aggravate stuff to make sure they get their clicks so that they get paid. That's how this works now. And so they take something that I said that I'm pretty sure I previously said and make a big deal out of it. And, my reaction to Matthew's tweet, and first of all, I love Matthew Judon. I think he's a great player. I think he's entitled to ask for a lot more money. He's way underpaid, set to be way underpaid this season. And I think that he should be rewarded, or he should be traded to a contender where he's rewarded and gets to play in the playoffs. As far as his tweet, I think my reaction was, okay, that's a non-denial denial. He said, I didn't say that. I never reported that he said that. Every player, especially the smart ones, have plausible deniability because they have agents and other people who work on their behalf and handle this stuff. So the player could say, I never said that. I never said anything about my contract. But there's been a few contradictions with Matthew and his contract status this summer. Like, he went on WZLX and gave an interview, and he said all the right things about, like, I don't want to go through what I did last summer, which let's also remember that I reported he was holding in, and he said he wasn't holding in, but he in fact was holding in. But he went on ZLX, and he was asked, how far apart are they? And he said, we're pretty close. Well, if there's nothing wrong with his contract, if he's content with his contract and to play out his contract, why do the Patriots and Judon have to be close? There's obviously a negotiation going on here. And including, there was another media post where somebody said, like, the Patriots got to pay Matthew Judon, and he basically responded, like, I don't think that's going to happen. So there's been some sort of discussion about his contract. But, the bottom line is, like, if Matthew was content with his contract, was, knew that some of the things that he said about coming off an injury, and he's blessed just to be playing this game, and I understand all that. If my reporting was incorrect, then the tweet or the quote should have been something along the lines of, I have no issues with my contract. I am not expecting anything to be done about my contract. I look forward to playing out my contract and becoming a free agent next year. But he didn't say that. He just said, I didn't say I need a new contract. And so it sort of is what it is.
Yeah, at first I read the tweet as maybe the Patriots live on the air, him saying them, and then when I got off the air, I thought about it over the weekend. I said, oh, he's definitely responding to Greg's report or what you had to say on the pod last week. And I don't know, man. It's just, I think all players are better off just not saying much of anything. And I know that his initial reaction is he wants to fight back or whatever he's doing, and he wants to push back on the report. But just do your business. Just do your business. You don't have to be tweeting at people like he did earlier, which, and then he tweeted the SpongeBob SquarePants GIF after tweeting at that person that he doesn't think it's going to happen. Like, you said that you were not going to do what you did last year, and you weren't going to, you didn't want to say much or whatever, but you keep sprinkling in some things out there. And again, I understand. I understand he's trying to defend his position and he wants to push back, but you also have to understand that when you do that, you're letting the story kind of continue and live and survive. And people are now going to look at everything that you said and question some things that you said prior. And you're probably just better off just letting business be business. Hopefully you get a deal that you want, or you get dealt to a place that you want to be dealt. You could always say at a later time, that's not what happened. This is what happened. You don't always have to respond. You don't always have to reply, even if you want to. And I think that's advice that we should all take, by the way, because all of us respond and reply all the, like, you don't always have to hit reply or send. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's just better off to take a deep breath and walk away for a little while and let things just happen. With all of that said, Greg, do you expect Judon at camp next week?
Oh yeah, I think he's definitely coming, and I think he said that. He said, or maybe that was before minicamp, and I think it was before minicamp. He said, like, I'm not going to get fined. Like, he's going to be there. I mean, I can't tell you how much he's going to do. We shall see. But I still think, the bottom line is, if the Patriots didn't do anything to Christian Barmore's contract, if they didn't give him the extension, then I still think there would have been belly aching from Matthew Judon and Devon Godchow. But, once they gave Christian Barmore, off of really 1 year of production, $21 million in cash, I forget what the AAV is. I do have it here. Let me just be accurate. So Christian Barmore got $21 million AAV, including $19.5 million cash in 2024. And Matthew Judon, and that's off of 1 year of production, really. And Matthew Judon is set to make $7.5 million in cash this year. And Devon Godchow is set to make $8.3 million in cash this year. They might have been a little disgruntled before, but now that when Barmore got his deal, and I don't begrudge Barmore at all or the Patriots, a little rich, but you had to do something because you couldn't let him go through this year and get the free agency and then he's gone. But the Patriots have been through this too many times. So they're proactive, and hopefully in time the deal looks better. It often does. But, it went from a little grumbling to when they gave Barmore the extension, $21 million a year. That's when it sort of, went to another level, and those guys are saying, if you guys are handing out money, we've done a few things for this franchise more than a year, so why don't you look at us?
I've got one more question for Greg before I get to that question. Take the guesswork out of buying NFL tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Also, check out Greg and Company over at Boston Sports Journal. $50 for the year. Bedard, Giardi tag teaming on the Patriots with film, the best sources around to give you the most accurate reporting on your football team this upcoming season. My last question for you, Greg, is inevitably, what do you think happens with Judon and Godchow?
I definitely think they do something with Judon. Now, I think they'll give him a little bit of a bump and then incentives that could get him to where he really should be, is somewhere around $14-15 million a year. So right now he's getting paid half of what he's really been paid each year over the last 4 years, going back to Baltimore. I think they'll do something, and that's advantageous for two different ways, Nick. It's not only for the Patriots this year, which is good, and you're hoping that, the Patriots do play good football and they're 500 and, in contention for a playoff spot, all that stuff. And they're likely going to need Matthew Judon to do that. But in an event that doesn't happen, and they do something to his contract, and make him happier and he's productive and all this stuff, it makes him tradable at the trade deadline. If things don't work out for the Patriots and they're stuck on like 3 wins or 4 wins and Judon's going to fly the coop after the season, why not get rid of him now? And so by, addressing his contract now, I think it makes things easier. Godchow, man, that's going to be tough. They have him over the barrel. They don't have any depth at the position. I don't really think right now there's too many people clamoring to trade for an interior run defender who wants more money. So I think that it's more likely that they probably give Godchow, maybe at least with both of these guys, more guaranteed money, pay their salaries up front, a lot of it, and then tack on some incentives that can get them to another level if the team and they do well.
That'll do it. He's Greg. I'm Nick. Back later this week. Everybody be well.